And welcome back to Momentous Struggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the Padme box, the Queen Amidala box, and just taking a look at what we think about it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As always, joined by my friend Aubrey. How are we doing today, Aubrey?
Hey, I'm over here fighting with a 3D printer, but otherwise I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been doing a whole lot of. I'm not a 3D printing expert by any means, so unfortunately, I can't give you any guidance on that or anything along those lines. So, I know you haven't been able to get many games in. You've been doing like family business and stuff like that, so haven't been able to play nearly as much as I'm sure you've wanted to lately.
Yeah, no, the closest I've gotten to any playing is after getting the Padme box, got it open, built as quick as I could, and then challenged the stepson to a game, but we only got through one struggle because again, my weekend was so busy and full that like I just barely squeezed this in just because it felt weird to get on here and talk about Padme when I had Padme in my hands and not get a chance to play with her first. So I did my best, but a lot of my time this week has been spent, sadly, with the 3D printer. Now, I, I work at a library. In my job, I've worked on 3D printers before. I really like I got the AnchorMake M5C.
Hmm.
It came out of the box. It assembled really easy, great. I think the issue is I was using cheap filament and it broke off in there, and I'm gonna have to disassemble the extruder, which I've done before with MakerBots. I have not done it obviously with this one because it's a brand new printer, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep everybody posted. That's been my hobby stuff. I actually haven't done any painting or anything either. Like I picked up some new paints to do some painting, and then I've just been so busy. Like I had everything set up and ready to go. I thought I was gonna paint, and then I didn't, and then I didn't, and then I didn't. Uh,
Yep. No, I mean,
that's just been my week.
my hobby's been. I mean, I'm working currently on getting Vader finished up, so I've been painting Vader, but again, like just going back to where we were before, I have a LVO qualifier next weekend. So I mean, this entire weekend was just testing my team because I have not played Cosmic Ghost Rider. If you play the game at all, the Cosmic Ghost Rider Frank Castle is like an amazing character, and I've just and like everyone's playing him, so it's like I've really had to like kind of learn how to play against him and how to potentially play him. So like been playing a lot of Crisis Protocol, getting ready for that. Once that's over, I'll probably go back to it. Side note, wanted to definitely give a shout out. So Kenny from the Zion's Finest podcast is working currently to try and put together a LVO Shatterpoint event. If anybody is interested in giving him help, definitely join his Slack. If you join his podcast, if you look at his podcast, he has a Slack. He's looking to try and get help putting together tables for the event, getting a good count so that he can get together with LVO. So anybody that is willing to give any assistance for that, since we're in Arizona and I'm driving up to LVO, I'm like trying to collect up as many different tables worth of terrain I can from just the local community and finding out whichever other local players are going up, even if they're not going to play Shatterpoint, that can bring up other tables. So I'm working on it. I think I'm up to about like potentially have like 6 tables that I can bring up there for them. So that's my goal, is to just help him get a good event going up there for Shatterpoint. So shout out to Kenny and Zion's Finest. I mean, and if you're not listening to their podcast, you should be listening to their podcast because they put out some really good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember them. I remember them talking about it in their latest episode, and it sounded really cool. Although it sounds like every time they kept opening the event and it would fill, and opening the event and fill, and opening the event and fill.
So that happens
So,
a lot up at LVO. Like they're like a lot of the events fill. I mean, so the only event that they have for Shatterpoint right now is the late night after hours type of event. I'm lucky enough to get into that one, so I'll definitely be playing in that no matter what. I was one of the lucky ones that jumped in there real early to get my ticket. So hopefully he can get something else together though, and can work something out because I think the event will do really well. Shatterpoint's really growing, for sure.
yeah, it's a good sign that if every event that we're trying to run keeps filling up all the way. I
Hmm.
know we have a premiere showdown here in a couple of weeks, which I have to work that day.
Yep.
But
And I think
yeah,
I'm
I only work
TOing.
I only work every 3 weeks, and our first local premiere showdown has to happen the one weekend I'm working. It's
Yep.
fine. It's fine. I will be at the library teaching kids how to play Pokemon instead of playing Shatterpoint with everyone. It's fine.
Tier. But yeah, no, I am I hopefully can go and play that. I'm supposed to be TOing a MCP event though, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit there and play in that or not. So we'll see how things shake out. So, but yeah, well, let's go ahead and just jump into our main topic then, which is talking about our favorite person, Queen Padme Amidala. So a quick rundown of this character in case people are not familiar with her. She is an 8 squad point character. She is a primary. She has 3 force. Interesting about her, she only has one tag. That's Galactic Republic. No other tags. She is a primary, 9 stamina, 3 durability, Clone Wars era character. She is pretty exciting. I mean, I think she's interesting, like having a Galactic Republic non-clone, non-Jedi character for bringing that first. So really cool to bring her into the game and everything along those lines. What are your thoughts about her to start with? Just general thoughts.
Okay, so I've been trying to figure out what my problem is with this box. Not just from a lore perspective. The character's fine. Padme's great. But I finally figured it out. Okay, this is supposed to be the Clone Wars, right? And we have Queen Amidala with her handmaidens. And I'm like, shouldn't this be like say like you could still do this box, but it could be like Senator Amidala with Corte, the decoy who, saves her at the beginning of Attack of the Clones, and then like some Naboo soldiers, or you could still do. I guess she probably has more than one handmaiden, and if she had a decoy, right? I it's been bugging me because I'm like, I want to play this character. She's great. I mean, Padme is an integral part of the canon. But what was bugging me about it is that she's like, "Hi, I'm showing up as queen, and everyone else is fighting in the Clone Wars."
Yeah, and I mean,
What?
and during the Clone Wars, leading into the Clone Wars, there was a completely different queen already. So no, I get where you're going with that,
Yeah.
and I just love watching your head explode when lore stuff like this happens because it really doesn't bother me like it bothers you, but I love watching you just explode over it.
It's fine. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully, they're listening to us out there. But I was thinking that like this is where I started going off on completely different direction. I realized we could get a Qui-Gon box with Jar Jar Binks and some Gungan soldiers, and I think that would actually be a pretty cool squad because it's kind of flavorful and fits in with like this Padme box, and you can go in a whole new direction. But I do not want little kid Padme hanging out with all the clones. Like, what's going on? Like, what is this? There's like a 10-year gap. But sorry. All right. As a character, I think she's gonna bring something unique to Galactic Republic. You don't have to be all in on the clones now. So
It is cool.
that's good.
It is cool. It is good. I like it. Some of her like it's she has a very interesting kit. I mean, looking like starting out with like her first ability, her active ability, which is the Royal Command, cost 1 force, and you choose a Galactic Republic unit. Each unit in that each character in that unit can then advance. So you get a full advance for 1 force. It's not an activated ability, like something that just happens on an activation. And I think that makes sense simply because you're not getting a dash, you're getting a full advance. So I think that makes sense to make why it costs a force and why it's not just a normal activated ability because you are getting that full advance out of it for both characters in your unit if you decide to use a secondary. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this one though?
Right. So again, it feels like Galactic Republic gets the slightly worse version of everything. I mean, this ability in a vacuum, not knowing anything else, fantastic. It's a full advance. It only costs 1 force. You get to move if you're doing a supporting unit. You get to move 2 characters. Uh, it's great. But Kalani gets to move like even more than this just by showing up. Like, like, come on. Why this couldn't have been a tactic ability on activation? You just get to advance. Like, I get it's powerful, and I get, yeah, it probably should have cost a force. You know what else should have cost a force? Kalani's ability.
You separatist hating fool, you.
Mm. Mm. Hey, they're trying to destroy the Republic. It's not okay. Not okay.
Yeah, I guess whatever. But no, I mean, I
You
think a
the
lot.
taxation of trade routes, the outlying star systems. That's where it all went wrong.
That was the start of the downfall. That is true. Yes. But no, I do like this ability. I think it's great. I mean, and the fact that it's global, there's no limit to it. So like, I mean, that there is that's why I think it's a little bit better than Kalani. She can be, on the opposite side of the field. Even if like this is like your second time through your order deck, and you got people on the other side of the battlefield, you can move them into a good position. So I like it. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's having one force means you really have to kind of protect her, make sure that she's not getting into the fray and everything along those lines. I don't like this is one of the things that immediately makes me think no, this is not a frontline type character. You want to kind of keep her back in the back third of the battlefield, if not even farther back, just kind of doing her thing back there. So yeah, I mean, I think it's great. And like so, looking at her next ability, because she only has one active, she only has one reactive. Her reactive is that coordinated fire, which honestly is pretty cool. So, but it's very restrictive. Where when an allied handmaiden unit makes an attack as part of her combat action, before the dice are rolled, you can use the ability. It is no force as long as she's not wounded or injured. Uh, but does have a range 5 of it, which is really nice. Does range 5 and does 2 damage. So I think that's pretty sweet. 2 damage, range 5 for her coordinated fire, and there is no force needed on as long as she's not injured or wounded. So I don't know. What do you think about this one?
This is so coordinated fire is one of these love-hate things I have because coordinated fire is a very Galactic Republic ability. I know some other people have it, but the Night Sisters and such. But my only concern always is that it's more restrictive. Like if it had just been Galactic Republic character, done. Easy. This is amazing. This is great. 2 damage is the most damage we've seen. That it lets her punch up when you're attacking with the handmaidens. Great. But instead it says handmaidens. And I've run into that exact issue where like uh the just again I've only played one struggle. We haven't even finished the game. And because of what was it? I think Django pulled Rex off of the center point towards Padme and him. There was a whole kerfuffle happening over there, and yes, that's the official term, Todd, kerfuffle.
I
And
like that term.
and so her and Rex were the only ones fighting over here, and that 2 damage would have wounded Django. Like I had a situation where I was like 1 or 2 damage off, and if it had just been Galactic Republic, I could have used her coordinated fire, and it would have been awesome. So I just don't know how much coordinated fire is always one of those abilities where it's when it happens and it's free, it's amazing. And when they're wounded or it's the wrong unit, you're sitting there going, couldn't I have had any other ability? So it's
All right, so hear me
I
out.
don't know. It's
Hear me out though.
okay.
This is for you and your lore that you love so much. The reason why it's only handmaidens is because she is Queen Amidala and not Senator Amidala. And back at this point in time, was only had the handmaidens around and not clones.
No, no, Todd,
I'm
no,
using your own knowledge against you.
no. You were the chosen one, Todd. Fine, fine, fine. It's okay. Anyway, I mean, when it happens, it's gonna be great. 2 damage, free, essentially. 2 damage. No, nothing to snuff at. So it's fine. I'm just you're gonna have situations like I had where I mean, unless we get another handmaiden box, which I don't expect us to. I mean, pretty much the only named character that I can think of is Corte, like I talked about earlier. Otherwise, I mean, this is probably it for handmaidens. I mean, does anybody else can't think of anyone else in Star Wars who has handmaidens? So uh, I just think the coordinated fire is not going to happen as much. So
Probably
I'm
not.
poo-poo it. And mind you, I like this box overall. I think it's going to help some of the problems that Galactic Republic is having, but I just wish it said Galactic Republic instead.
Yeah, I think they really. I mean, it looks like they're really making a point to have this box just synergize with itself, and I think that's probably the big piece of
Mhm.
it around it is that just they wanted Amidala to just synergize with the box that she's bringing to the table. So, I mean, and it makes sense, I guess, in a certain way. So, I mean, I think it's a cool ability. The nice thing is Sabe and the Handmaidens both have that Handmaiden tag. So at least you have two units that have the tag, not just the one. So I think that's going to be at least makes it hurt a little less, but it does make her placement very important in how you are moving her around and putting her on the board and where you're moving your other handmaidens too. So I like it. I think it's good. Going to her only innate ability though, she also does have crack shot, which she has sharpshooter too. Period. End of story. She has sharpshooter too. So and then when she makes a focus action, each character in her unit can also dash. So you make a focus action, you dash her. She has sharpshooter 2 plus the focus, giving her 3 extra dice. Pretty good. And like if like she is only range 4, which we'll get to. She is only range 4, but I mean range 4, 3 extra dice. She's pretty much going to get down that most of her tree if she can get a good shot off.
Oh yeah. Oh, move over, Mandalorians. Now we got some of this make a focus action and get everything. I love this because a lot of times we're using those smaller movement actions just to like position ourselves a certain way. Like take cover and things like that. And this is great because you can move like because remember if we go back to her Royal Command ability if you use Royal Command and Crack Shot, you can move her without even taking a move action nearly halfway across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Like just talking about herself, self-contained without all the other options, and still attack. So you spend a force, you make a focus action, you're rolling 3 extra dice, the range 4 because you're moving so far. Hopefully doesn't matter, and oh yeah, no, I love this ability. I was actually surprised because I keep making this mistake with sharpshooter because you have to turn it on by making a focus action. So I kept thinking, I'm gonna get 2 more dice. Well, no, you're getting 3 dice because I went to scoop up my dice and I went, oh, I get 10 dice on this attack. Wow, this is Obi-Wan territory. Okay, let's roll some dice. It was fantastic. Plus the movement, I really like. It is very flavorful. Like they're all doing their. I mean, we're gonna talk about it in a minute, but they have those Gatling guns, grapple guns, whatever they call them, and whatever. Anyway, they did a really good
Yes.
job. Galactic Republic needs movement, and Padme's got nothing but movement. It's
Yes.
great.
No, it's very cool, very cool, and I mean I like it. I like the ability. I like that she's getting so much extra dice. I mean, so jumping kind of a little ahead to her stance card, she's got either 7 or 6, depending on which side you have her on. So worst case scenario, if you use this ability, you're rolling 9 dice. Best case scenario, you're rolling 10. So it's pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's makes her pretty reliable to get a fair ways down her tree just because of the sheer number of dice that she's rolling. So I do like it. Now, she has one last ability. This is her identity. It's the Servant of the People. This one is really, really interesting. So it is one of those where you really have to pay attention to which side of her stance card she's on. So there's a couple of things with this one. So she can't be wounded in order for this to go off. So but if she's not wounded and she is on her Faith of Diplomacy side, Allied Galactic supporting units that are contesting the same objective as her can. How was this worded? It's so hard. Even if they are wounded, they can basically count as contesting the objective. So really interesting, but that's I don't think you're going to be using that as much as you're probably going to be using the second piece of it, which is while this unit is not wounded, again, if she's on her aggressive negotiation side, characters within range 4 add a dice to their attack roll. I think that's probably where you're going to be having her for the majority of the time. simply because like contesting, I don't think she's not going to be up in the fray contesting. At least that's not how I don't think you're going to be using her that way. I think if you're using her to be up contesting like objectives where most of your other people are going to be and needing that extra person to contest, I think you're probably playing her wrong. I don't know though. So, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
it?
Well, just key detail, making sure we got this, is this specifically only affects supporting characters.
Correct.
So it's not everyone, it's just supporting characters. So she really rewards you for kind of moving up in a squad. Like you really want the handmaidens to be moving up with Padme. Padme's not going by herself. And I agree with you. I think you're right. I think at most you might put her near the midline just because she has she has that shorter range, and I think that's going to matter a little bit. So you might have to move her up a little more than you might want to, but don't move her too far. So I really think it's the extra dice that's going to matter the most. Like the extra dice is great. That's fantastic. It's going to work out. But I mean, spoilers when we get to her other characters, you're actually, and this is how I played the game out, just based on cursory reading the cards. A lot of the times, you're going to want to move Padme first, and then use Sabe's ability to move everyone towards her. So, and that's how you're gonna wanna play it out. So there's not gonna like Padme's gonna be up a little bit further, and then the handmaidens are gonna be coming in after her. So I don't think the other side is going to come up that often. I mean, when it does, I think it's going to what's going to happen is you're going to catch your opponent off guard because you will have spent most of the game on aggressive negotiations, and then I do feel like if you squint at it the right way, I feel like there's going to be a deciding moment in like struggle 3 where you've gone 2 hours deep into the game and you're going to suddenly flip that card over and a certain objective's going to matter, and that's what's good. That's what when this ability is going to be good. I don't think you're doing it the whole game though.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's. I really think. I mean, and looking at both stance cards, I mean, we can just like since we're talking about this, jump into it. I mean, looking at her stance card, she has the aggressive negotiation and the faith and diplomacy. The faith and diplomacy side, I don't think is the. I think that's definitely the weaker of her sides. I mean, it's only got on both sides. She's going to have 5 defensive dice, either ranged or melee. She's going to have 6 dice on melee attack dice. In face in diplomacy, she has 6 attack dice for range, where in aggressive negotiation she only has 7, and she only has 5 ways down her stance tree on the faith and diplomacy. The one thing is there's a pretty decent amount of displacement on the faith and diplomacy side though, where there's she can potentially get up to 3 shoves. She has a pin in there, as well as if you don't want to do the 3 shoves, you could do a disarm instead. But really, she's not punching out a lot of damage, though. She's looking at maybe, 7 damage is the maximum on this side. And one of the key things, I mean, because again, we want to keep her at range, looking at her expertise chart, there's no crits on that at all. So, like, unless you're rolling crits, you're not being able to go into crits. I mean, if you go into melee range, you can get 1 crit at 3 plus, but there's just not a lot of crits here. And her defensive expertise chart is mostly healing. She's not doing a lot of blocks off of her defensive expertise chart. Because on that one, it's 1 to 2 is a block and a heal, 3 to 4 is a block and 2 heals, and then 5 plus is a block reduction from a crit to a failure, and then 2 heals. So I don't see that there's not a lot of upside to this particular side of her stance card, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing because there are 3 shoves on that side. So if there was even just one, just give me 1 crit on 4 success. We're talking about 4 expertise. Like give me 1 crit so that I can at least be like, all right, if I roll really well, I can guarantee at least maybe a shove or 2. Because I mean, it's her first success is a shove, which
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why they didn't give her crits, but come on. Like this is a primary character. We're talking about her defensive side. Give me 1 crit. Like just
Yeah.
come on. Because especially aggressive negotiations, it's crits all the way down.
Yeah,
All the way down. Crit, 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 crit.
yeah. No, aggressive negotiation definitely better. I mean, the defensive expertise chart is pretty much the same, but yeah, when you're at range with that side, it's one expertise is a crit, two expertise is a crit and a hit, three plus is two crits and a strike. So it's just so good on that side. There's no reason to go, but best case scenario on that side, you got two displacements are with the shove being all the way at the third success and the second one being at the fifth success. So yeah, not exactly the best. I mean, the nice thing is there's a little more damage here. You're looking at 8 damage and two, like potentially at best 8 damage, two pushes. She does have an expose on this side. She also has a reposition if you don't want to do your second shove. She also has two heals. I mean, so I just like this side better, but I think ultimately you're gonna want to be on that side anyway, just because of like. But you know me, I like expose better. Like I think that's one of the more I like that condition better than I think most. All conditions are good. Don't get me wrong, but expose is definitely my favorite. Um, so I do like this one though. I think I would when I play her, if I play her, I will definitely be playing her like staying on this side, not only for her identity, but just I think this is the better place to be.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, at this point, you almost just want to stay on aggressive negotiations and try and use those crits to just get down the tree,
Mm.
because there's two shoves on this tree. I mean, are you getting a five? No, not all the time. But remember, talk about sharpshooter and
Focus.
uh, the focus action. If you're rolling 10 dice with her on aggressive negotiation side, you might just get down the tree. And at that point, you got to expose them and do two shoves and do a little bit more damage. Yeah, this side's definitely better. This side even has a heal and a reposition on it. You're used to seeing that on the defensive side. The aggressive side has heals and a reposition. Like why am I flipping this card over except for, like I said, I feel like at the very end of the game in a key moment, that's when you're going to flip to this side, and you're using it for the ability, not to actually attack with it. But maybe there's uses for each side, right? So I just don't think the other side's going to be used nearly as much.
I don't think so either. I definitely don't think so either. So, I mean, we kind of talked about how the fact that if you're going to be bringing Padme, you're going to be bringing her with her whole box simply because of like the just the synergies of it. Who do you think is the other primary and squad that you're going to be taking with her though?
Well, I'll tell you what my first try was. I'm still trying to get General Kenobi up there with the rest of these monsters and Maul and Darth Vader uh, and Dooku and Grievous. Oh man, still trying my best. So my first spot was to try Obi-Wan, because his ability only cares about Galactic Republic, so it affects all of these characters. I will admit, after playing with them a little bit, you really got to make sure that you use take cover as one of their actions, because I'm learning I'm not getting my hunker tokens nearly as easily with this group. No defensive maneuvers to save me. So the other thing is we could go full on let's bring mom and dad to the crew. You might just want to use her with Anakin, because I've noticed the other thing is well, okay, I really like to play characters that give me 7 force, so maybe this is just a function of me having to get used to this world with only 6. But I was definitely running out of force by the time I got through my deck. And yeah, Anakin. I just think it might be fun. That's more of a flavor win than anything else. Like putting Anakin and Padme on the battlefield and having them attack. We're not going to talk about the weird 10-year time difference here.
I
So
think it would be good though. I think that'd be fun just to put the two of them. I mean, there's enough there to sit there and make them play well together. They're both Galactic Republic. I mean, I think you're just not. I don't think you're getting the full potential out of her like you would with Obi Wan. I think Obi Wan is probably the best way to go, but Obi Wan's probably the best one out there right now. It's yeah. I mean, he's pretty much if you're gonna play with Galactic Republic, I think you have to play Obi Wan. So yeah, I think you're in the same boat there. Like Obi Wan probably put in what with Rex maybe and Arf or or the Commandos. I think is probably where you kind of want to be with her box. I think is probably like what you're looking at. But yeah, so that said, I think we've kind of wrapped her up. Let's take a look at Sabe. I think she's also like really cool. I think she is a very I think she's a character that I don't think like I think she's getting enough love. I think she's getting some good love, and I think she's really good. She's 4 squad points, no force. She is a secondary unit, 9 stamina, 2 durability, has the Galactic Republic tag, has that Handmaiden tag that makes her really worthwhile with Amidala. So I think she's a really good character. I mean, what do you think about her? You've had a chance to put her on the table. What's your initial impression of having her on the table?
Okay, so first off, some lore stuff and spoilers if you're not reading the comics. But I'm currently neck deep in the current Vader arc, the latest one, and it's set after Empire Strikes Back, and Vader is going on a rampage, going after everyone who hid Luke from him. There's this whole thing where it's actually pretty dark. Vader essentially gets defeated by the Emperor, destroyed his whole suit, and left on Mustafar to relive out the whole becoming Darth Vader again because the Emperor thinks he's gotten weak. Well, he survives, comes back, goes on this rampage of hunting people down, and he's at the tomb of Padme Amidala, and suddenly Padme shows up. Except it's not Padme. It's Sabe.
Yep.
And it's so cool. And then stuff happens, and I'm not gonna recount the whole story, but she essentially sides with Vader because she wants revenge for who's responsible for Padme's death. Vader wants revenge for who's responsible for Padme's death, which it turns into this whole double crossing craziness of like they decide Vader must be the one who killed her, but then Sabe figures out that Vader is Anakin because she figures out very quickly Anakin and Padme had a baby. That's what led to her death, but she can't figure out what Darth Vader's role in all of this was, and just assumes that Darth Vader killed Anakin and Padme on Mustafar. As we know, it's a little more complicated than that. So it's a really cool story arc. So I'm honestly, I don't think we would have gotten Sabe if they didn't make the box the way they made it, and so it's really cool that we got Sabe. Like, I'm weirdly more excited about her than about Padme. Not that I don't like Padme. I just the whole lore stuff. You already told everybody. My brain's broken. But playing with her, her abilities are really cool in the context of the box. You're never using her outside this box, but her abilities are really cool. I've really enjoyed. I've only activated her once. Like I said, we only went through one struggle, and when I activated her, I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot of movement I'm getting for free." I'm like, "Oh, is this what the Separatists feel like all the time?"
So I will say, you just like I feel like you just channeled your inner Omnis from Rogue Support because he has like some of the same feelings about Sabe as you do. So that was very awesome to sit there and just kind of feel like I was actually talking to Omnis for a second because I love Omnis. I think he's amazing. But anyway, that was hilarious. I'm like I'm talking to Omnis right now. Okay, I digress.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And that was the short version. And I kind of compressed stuff because some of that happens at like different times. Like there's a whole subplot that happens in between the first time you see Sabe and the second time you see Sabe because she's like following Vader, and so like Vader does all this other stuff in the middle. And anyway, the Vader comic is very good, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I am impressed with the writing because you usually can't pull off a villain protagonist for any length of time because they're hard to follow, right? They're villains, but those writers have been doing a good job.
Vader's unique though. I mean, he's a very unique one. Well, okay, let's go ahead and digress and jump into Sabe's card here. So, starting out, she does have an activated ability called Loyal Protector. So at the start of her activation, each allied handmaiden character may dash towards the primary character. And you alluded to this earlier, but there's again no. This is global. There's no range on it. It's just every handmaiden. So you have three characters just rushing towards, probably towards Padme. Let's be fair, towards Padme. And so, what do you
Yeah.
think about this one? What is your overall impression of this?
Oh, it's awesome. The only thing it asks you to do is make sure that you've activated preferably Padme, but remember, it can be whomever your other primary unit is. All it asks you to do is activate Sabe after a primary.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Easy, great. Like I activated Padme, moved her up in between the 2 points up here because I was attacking the B2s, so I didn't want to get too close to them. But this objective wasn't active, and that one was. And then I flipped over Sabe. Everyone ended up on the gantry facing off against these battle droids. Like, oh, it was. Now I'll admit Sabe came a little late in the game, so it would have been nice if she had been earlier. But that was my only complaint. My only complaint was that I didn't activate her sooner. Oh yeah, no, this ability is awesome. The worst thing that happens is you might have to reserve Sabe to really get the full effect because you don't exactly want them all dashing like back to your back to your primary unit. So, but come on, no, it's great.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think she's. I think that's a really cool activated ability. I like the out of activation movement. You know how I am about that. I think it's great. So no, I'm looking forward to like what that's going to do. It brings a really nice ability to just the Galactic Republic and to this box. So exposed flank though, that's their next ability. It is a reactive ability. Cost one force. Each character in this unit may climb. So that's a interesting one. And if a character ends up at a higher elevation than it began, characters in this unit has sharpshooter one. So it's really interesting that and they immediately make a focus action. So it immediately is going to sit there and give them the focus action, give them that sharpshooter one, so the two extra dice, as long as they end at a higher elevation. Really cool. I like the ability that is just like, okay, I'm gonna go up higher, and now I can shoot. Now when I shoot, I have two extra dice. I like it. What do you think?
Yeah. The only thing I have to say about it is this is where again just unit management is going to come into play because of how we had ingress points and ladders and things. There was a moment where I had to put her on the highest elevation, and then in order to get to where I needed to go, I don't remember why I had to do this, but I had to basically use her exposed flank to just move, and that felt kind of bad. So like now I'm learning I probably should have done something else to get her where I needed to go, but I wasn't. It's a new ability, right? I wasn't thinking about how she has to always end up on a higher elevation to get the full effect of her ability, which is just on me. But it's different. I I feel like you get so much from it as long as you use it well. So you're just gonna want to think about it before you pull off this ability. Don't just use it to move around because it's worth a lot more if you do it right.
And I think this ability is going to come into play even more so on deployment. Like looking at, okay, where am I going to where am I going to deploy her at, so that I can go ahead and take full advantage of her ability once she does activate. Because again, she has range 4, so you really want to be able to put her in a place where she can climb and then have her range 4 attack. So I do think this is pretty cool. I like the ability, but yeah, this is a you really have to pay attention to where you're going to be, what you're doing with her on deployment, just to start with, and what you're doing. So this is a lot more of the turn zero type of stuff that you're going to have to think about when it comes to playing this army.
Right. For example, the way we had our terrain set up is there was one of those towers very close to my left side point, closest to me for deployment, and then we had a tower and we had a gantry and everything in the middle, and then it was kind of inverted, right? We had the same setup, but the tower was closest to my opponent, to Perrin, and so I deployed Padme and the Handmaidens on this side of the board because I wanted to immediately be able to take advantage of that exposed flank and the climbing. So yeah, you're definitely right. This is where, and I think it's cool. this is where terrain is really going to matter. I mean, even more than it already does at at a base level of the game. We've all talked about how important elevation and terrain is in Shatterpoint, but these characters, you're going to be like, all right, how can I maximize exposed flank? Because spoilers, it's on the handmaidens too. So as long as you're playing this box, you're going to be thinking about, I got to get higher. I got to get higher. I got where can I maneuver to get the full effect? Because when you do, it's really cool. You can really punch up with Sabe and the Handmaidens, which I was not expecting because they don't really deal a lot of damage. But no, this was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, I think I like that. I think this is a really cool ability. I think it's in you need to the whoever is playing it. If you are playing this character, you need to think about like how you're going to be moving her to sit there and take full advantage of it. But I definitely think it's a great ability that she's going to have, especially being getting her to a point where she has 2 extra dice. But this also shows she's another character that you're going to want to have at range. You're not going to want to put her in melee because her abilities are definitely all about shooting. So her next ability though is this reactive ability called Coordinated Assault, not coordinated fire, coordinated assault. When a
Yeah.
character, so in this one is when a character in another when a character in another allied Galactic Republic unit makes an attack as part of their combat action before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability if the character is within range 5. So it's got a pretty good range. They can dash. So you're not doing a whole heck of a lot other than just making a dash. But there's no force involved in this, so as long as she's not wounded or injured, she's able to just do this for free. So some good movement, again, putting her in a position to where she might be able to use exposed flank when she activates if you're putting her in the right places. What do you think about this one, though?
I really don't know how to evaluate this one. It's different. It's like coordinated fire, which is why we brought it up, but it's not coordinated fire. It does synergize well with our next ability that we're going to talk about, bodyguard, which it should look familiar if you've been playing the game. And I think it's just, I mean, it's free movement. It's not bad. I don't know if she's wounded if you're going to spend a force to do this, but that's kind of my general problem with the coordinated lines of abilities is that they're pretty good early on in the game, but the deeper you get into the game, struggles 2 and 3, I don't know if I'd spend a force on this, but hey, free or almost free movement, I can't complain about as a Galactic Republic player.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you were running out of force on your first struggle running this team. So if you're going to be sitting there, and Galactic Republic in general is pretty force hungry just because of all the different abilities that they have with defensive maneuver and what have you. So if she's wounded, you're really probably not going to want to use this because you're going to be wanting to use your force in other ways. So like you said, it's a pretty cool ability being able to move her anywhere. I mean, especially range 5, she's gonna be somewhere near range 5 of most people that are attacking. And it's just the general idea of range 5. But are you really gonna want to pay a force to do this with, especially within Galactic Republic? I don't think so. I think I'm on the same page with you here, where it's just not something that you're really gonna want to do.
What I actually wish this ability did, and I don't know if they changed it because it was too good or anything. I wish it was the inverse. I wish it was when one of your like allied primary or secondary characters got attacked, she could dash towards them because she has the bodyguard ability. Like that's what it feels. It feels like you are moving her forward because a battle's happening and she's gonna help. Except instead it's on your attack, so she's not really bodyguarding if you're attacking. I don't know. Maybe it's like a setup for a future turn. This ability is hard to evaluate. I haven't
Yeah.
used it yet. I'm gonna have to just gonna have to see how it plays out. I
So
mean, movement is movement.
you wanted coordinated defense, not coordinated assault. I got you. I got you.
Yes. Well, it feels like it makes more sense. Like it feels like she's showing up and like, look at me, I'm the distraction. Like in the throne room when they think they've caught the queen, which they did, they didn't know it, and then she shows up and she's like, I'm the queen, come get me, and runs away. Like that's like it feels like it should have been coordinated defense, but
I hear
whatever.
what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But yeah, no, I get it. I still think it's a great ability. I think it's good to move her around. And this is one where I think you have to think about where you're placing her from your initial movements with her. So as long as you're putting her in a good position, I think this ability will be very good. And keeping her healthy. I mean, she does have 9 stamina, so she's not easily going to be one shot. Like unless it's a primary going after her, she's not going to get one shot. So I think you're gonna be able to sit there and really take full advantage of this as long as you're placing her properly. But then let's look at her last ability, the bodyguard one. You already kind of alluded to this one, and this is her last ability. It is innate. Allied primary characters within 2 and allied secondaries within 2 of this unit have cover 1. So I do like it. I mean, she just automatically gives that cover 1 to all of her characters. Again, but its cover is just for that range attack though.
Yeah, it's I mean it's not bad. I'll take it. And it kind of fits with her character. I sort of wish that it was intercede instead, which I mean I the handmaidens have spoilers. I just like intercede better. Like I kind of just wish she had both, but it's not bad. It fits with her character.
It does fits with her character. I mean, but it's again shows that like this is for the characters that are going to be hanging in the back. She's probably going to be one of those characters kind of hanging in the back, doing her stuff, shooting from the back third of the board type of a thing. So I like her. I think she's really cool. I like that. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out with her for sure. She has some very unique abilities on her side. Overall, her stance card though, I mean, she looks like she hits pretty good. She's got some really interesting stuff going on her stance card for sure. Um, just she's got 7 dice for range, 6 for melee, 5 across the board defensive dice. Her defensive maneuver 1 to 2 gives her a block. 3 4 gives her a block and reduces a crit just to a straight failure. I like that, especially on a secondary
Mm-hmm.
character. And then 5 plus gives her a block, reducing that crit to a failure again and a reposition, so she gets some movement there too. Um, Again, you're wanting to keep her mostly in ranged attack, but ranged attack she has 1 gives you a crit right off the bat. 2 to 3
Mm-hmm.
gives you a crit and 2 strikes, and then 4 plus gives you a crit and 3 strikes. If you are going to get into melee, which I don't think you really want to with her, you're going to get a crit and a damage at 1 to 2. 3 plus gives you a crit, a strike, and a damage. So overall, I mean, she's automatically, if she gets an expertise, it's an automatic crit. I do like that a lot from her. I think that's really solid. And looking at her tree, her first tile on her tree does have a shove. So you have a crit, and she's going to get a shove and a damage right off the bat. So I do like that. I think it's really good. She does have a couple of different, like if you go on the top side of her tree, she has disarm and pin along with 2 more shoves, so you can do a total of 3 shoves with her. If not, if you're going down the middle side, it's really just 1 shove, a jump, and a strain, which is also pretty good. Or you can reposition if you decide to go on the bottom. So, I mean, overall, really good. She's not pumping out a lot of damage, though. She's really only doing at most 6 damage. Interesting character, though. I mean, for a secondary, very interesting.
Yeah, they definitely have made her more of the I'm gonna move in, I'm gonna move out, I'm gonna do some shoves, I'm gonna put some conditions on there. I mean, it's got 3 shoves. You potentially, depending on the directions you go, you could get a reposition and a jump. I mean, what I like about her is that she's very mobile. We talked about how you don't really want her in melee, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna try and run up and get into melee with her. And her stance card basically says, no, I'm gonna attack you and I'm gonna get back out of here.
Right?
So I feel like yeah, she's not a heavy hitter. and right now it feels like the game is all about Vader and his team of heavy hitters. But she's got a lot of options. I mean, I like options.
Kira Knightley is mobile. That's what we're saying. I caught you
Wait,
off guard with that
wait.
one.
Kira Knightley,
She was the one who played
is she
Sabe.
Sabe?
Yes.
Wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yes, Kira Knightley was Sabe. Oh my goodness.
Wait, what? I don't know the
Okay,
actors'
go back
names.
and watch episode 1. Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. That's all right. now
Oh
I
my god, I
no,
didn't know that.
now I have you googling stuff. That's all right. We're good to go. Well, so since we are taking our Kira Knightley break and everything like that, let's go ahead and jump into the supporting
What?
units.
I didn't know that. Oh my god. Okay. All right. All right. I don't pay attention. If it's not Ewan McGregor, I don't know their names.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So, so looking at the Naboo Royal Handmaidens, they are 4 point cost, 0 force. They have 8 stamina, 2 durability. They have one additional tag here. They are Galactic Republic Handmaiden, but they also have the Trooper tag, which is not relevant at this point in time. What hopefully at some point in time may become relevant, but there's still that Trooper tag that's running around out there. As you have discussed previously, and we've discussed, they do also have that exposed flank ability. And I don't know, is it better with them? I don't know if it is. What do you think?
I mean, it's each character in this unit may climb, so it's good. You get to move both of them because, sometimes the move abilities are all over the place. Sometimes it's a character, sometimes it's a unit. So, you gotta pay attention to it. So this says each character in this unit, so that's good. So I think it might be slightly better here. It's a different ability, and we've talked about it already. I don't think we need to labor on it. I think it's good, but I think you gotta pay attention if you really want to maximize its effect, because the more you have to use it to just move, I think the sadder you're going to be.
Yeah, I mean it's nice that now you're getting to move two characters instead of just one, but I don't really think it's any better than it was with Sabe. I think it's still the same. The sharpshooter one is good. I mean, and again, the other issue is they only have range 4, but still, I think it's a good ability. I think it's something that you're not going to be using if they're wounded, but at the beginning of the game, getting a little extra movement, getting them the ability to add 2 extra dice, sure, let's go ahead and go with it. And looking at their
Yep.
next ability, so that was their only active ability. They do have reactive. They have coordinated fire. Only gives disarm though. So, and again, range 5. So yes, it's good, but it's not. It's as far as abilities go. I don't know if this is the as far as giving out this type of condition of disarm. It's one of the weaker ones in my opinion. It's still good, but it's not the best. If you're looking at bringing other units that do coordinated fire, I think I'm not going to be choosing this coordinated fire over the other coordinated fires that are over there. What do you think?
Yeah, no, and I apparently thought it was pinned. Anyway, disarmed, still not much better. Still not much better. Yeah, basically, I only want coordinated fire to give exposed or deal damage. I'm not as excited about. I mean, pin is maybe like a distant third on that list because forcing them to use up a movement action to get rid of that is kind of nice. But I I kind of wish that it was exposed. I mean, not just because it's the best condition to give out, but it also kind of feels like Padme and Sabe both care about exposed and have ways to give exposed, and then the handmaidens just have to go like get 4 successes down their stance card to give exposed, and I feel like it kind of keeps with the theme of the handmaidens because like they're like Padme uses them as decoys and they're not, no one expects them to be like combat trained, but it turns out they are. But we know my feelings on coordinated fire. You're gonna want to try and use it early on in the game, but as soon as they're wounded, I doubt you're paying for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so if they're not wounded and your other clones are, yeah, you're probably going to use this. But in most cases, this is the second coordinated fire that you're going to be using if you're playing a full Galactic Republic unit. But looking at their
Right.
last ability that they have, their innate ability is Intercede, which you like this a little bit better. So this one, while a unit is not wounded, enemy characters engaged with one or more of this characters cannot attack a primary or a secondary unit. And like I said, like you said, I do think this was probably the better ability to put Wasabe than the bodyguard one. I really do. But I mean, what do you think about this one? This is nice because it's on two separate characters. You can put them in two separate places.
Right. I definitely like Intercede. I mean, my only concern, both with the bodyguard ability and with this one, is that these characters are just a little squishier. Like we've seen these on the Magna Guards, but the Magna Guards have 10 stamina.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Sabe is 9, Handmaidens have 8, and the way this box seems to want to play out is you kind of want, them to be in the back half of the field, but kind of grouped together because you want them to be playing off of all the Handmaiden synergies, and you want to be able to use Intercede, and you want to be able to use Bodyguard. And I just don't know if every game is going to play out that way. There are some games where you kind of have to be a little more mobile to get, depending on what objectives you get. Like, great if you get a scenario where there's two objectives that are next to each other and this group can just kind of play the game of hanging back and managing these objectives. But not every game plays out that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get really bad objectives and you're like, well, I gotta send you off on your own, guys. And then these abilities get worse. So, but I like Intercede. You're right. It's on two characters. I think it's great. Just got to see how often they actually save the day, given that they're a little squishier than the Magna Guards.
Yeah, a little squishier. I don't know if you're going. I think they're probably going to get beat up a little bit easier, so they're not going to be able to sit there and use this innate ability probably as frequently as someone who has a little bit more stamina because they can get one shot depending on like which primary unit you're looking at, or even if you take in a secondary or a supporting unit, they can just attack both of them and put 4 damage into each. Then they're just down for the count. So yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you. I don't know if this is one that's going to be the best. Um, I mean, I guess looking at the last question overall, I mean, looking at them, do they? Well, not last question, I guess, but overall, are you pairing them with anyone other than this box? I mean, do they really kind of go anywhere else? I Intercede kind of gives them the ability to do so, but their coordinated fire isn't really good enough to sit there and put them in a different Galactic Republic unit. I just don't see a place for them outside of this box. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Kind of only brought up that subject because uh, the best way to look at games like this is, I mean, we get stuck in this, like, especially me, lore synergy. I want my teams to make sense when I'm playing with them, but we have to ask the question, hey, wait a minute, is there anything we're missing? Should we be, using these instead of Magna Guards? No, keep using your Magna Guards.
Right.
But in this specific box, if you think Padme is the way to go, you're bringing Sabe and you're bringing the Handmaidens because they play well with each other and they're cohesive together. Like I don't, and I mean I could be wrong, but I don't see a world where you're bringing a set of clones with Padme. At that point, play Anakin, play Mace Windu. Like there's other characters that synergize better with the clones. But if you think this is my final word, is if you think Padme is the right primary to play, you bring in the rest of the box.
Yeah. No, I don't think you take Padme. If you're going to take Padme, you have to take the rest of the box for sure. But yeah, I mean, and before I definitely want to look at their stance card before we jump away from this. But because the stance card overall, I mean, like you said, they have some interesting things going on there. I mean, it's 5 defense, four defense, depending on like range and melee. 5 across the board for range and melee for their attack dice. Overall, no crits on their defensive or on their expertise chart for their range. It's 1, 2, 3 for strikes. They do have a crit on their melee, which is interesting. So 1 gives them a strike and a damage. 2 plus gives them a crit and a damage. So that's pretty interesting. 1 to 2 on their defensive gives them a block, and 3 plus gives them a block and actually reduces a crit to a failure, which is interesting. I don't remember seeing that on a supporting unit ever. So I think that's really
Not that I
interesting
can
there.
remember.
Yeah, I can't think of ever seeing that outside of a primary. Maybe and Sabe I think has it too, but it's really rare. I like I said I can't think of seeing that anywhere on a supporting unit at all. But overall, I mean, again, they have some good movement. Like looking at their, if you go all the way down their tile, which is going to be pretty difficult, but if you go all the way down the tile, they have a reposition. They do have expose. They have disarm. On their first tile, it's split there, so you're either going to be able to do a jump or a heal. So interesting. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. They do a total, at best case scenario, they're going to do a total of 5 damage. So they're really not putting out a lot of damage. I think you're really kind of bringing them for their intercede and kind of just to be a little annoying, for lack of a better way of putting it. Just kind of like having them in the way of everything. But
Oh, oh, great! We just declared that the women of Star Wars are there to be annoying.
you put the words in my mouth.
We're
I
gonna
didn't say
edit.
that.
We gonna edit this part out. That's
Oh
fine.
no.
It's fine. Uh, yeah, no, I like that they start with a jump. They're very mobile. They give an expose, which I like. Although and there's the reposition at the end, which you gotta roll a lot of dice. But remember, they do have that exposed flank, which if you're using it correctly and you're rolling 7 dice at least with them, which is not terrible for a supporting. I mean, there's better options. Not trying to say they're great, but I mean, you can get up to 7 dice with them. And my only concern is the distinct lack of shoves. There's not a single shove. Anyway, I would have taken a shove at the fifth success. Why not?
Yeah.
But no shoves. But I mean, I get it because you really don't want them. You don't want them in melee. They're gonna stay back behind your primary so that they can use that intercede and I mean, they're just mobile. It feels like these are, yeah, the character that's going to mess with your opponent, turn a crit to a failure. They're gonna reposition or jump around. And I don't know if they're worth it or not. The only thing I will say is look at that stamina. They've got more stamina than a clone of Jango Fett. What is this, Todd? What is this? These are children that were trained to be companions to the queen. Are they combat trained? Of course. I'm not trying to say they're not combat trained, but why are they more durable than, or sorry, have more stamina than a fully military trained adult male clone?
I think it's just to anger you, just to trigger an Aubrey rant. I think that's what it's here for.
It's all right. It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Your
I
eyes
just
twitching a little while you're saying that, but okay.
but no, I think they're worth trying out. I think it's interesting. I think it brings a different kit to Galactic Republic. I'm gonna hopefully finish the second and third struggle here sometime today. I'll be able to give you some more info next time. But I enjoy. I mean, playing. So the way our first struggle went was I got the handmaidens like I think my first draw, and I was like, no, not moving them up first. That's not how that works. Put them in reserve. Then I drew later on. I drew Padme and then Sabe, and so I moved Padme up. She did her stuff. Sabe got to, move everyone closer to her. Then I activated the handmaidens, and they were able to get in. So I mean, it's just gonna kind of depend on when your deck gives you the cards in the right order. It's gonna be great, but you're gonna want to pay attention with this box. It's your placement at the beginning of the game is gonna matter, and then the order you get them in is gonna matter.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. But I like it. I
Yeah.
really like this box. I think it's pretty exciting box overall. I'm pretty excited to see to have you play it against me because you know me. I'm not a Galactic Republic person, but that's all right. I'll let you beat up on me with him. But overall, no, I like the box. Do you have any closing thoughts on the box at all?
No, I think we've covered it all today. I think Sabe might actually be the reason why you want to play this. Well, like Sabe and Padme and like the synergies between them, I think is going to be what's going to pull you into this box. Are there other options for Galactic Republic? Sure. Do I think you're going to play this outside Galactic Republic? Nah, I think there's better options if you're not playing Galactic Republic. But for those of us who are clinging to the light side while Vader is beating us all down right now, I think Padme might be able to hold him off a little bit. I don't know. Isn't that how it went in the movie?
Not really. She kind of just died from sadness because that's what happens with Padme. She just dies of sadness, which is
Yeah. Uh, couldn't it have just been complications from giving birth after, getting assaulted through the Force?
no.
Couldn't it have just been that?
The droid
Mm.
told you no. It was they can't figure out why. She's just sad.
She's just
Oh.
sad. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay, George. We still love you. You gave us this great world. Just maybe have consulted someone about childbirth before making that such an important part of your story.
Baby. On that note, I do want to thank all of you for listening. As always, and we do appreciate each and every one of you listeners. Please go ahead and rate the podcast. Let us know what you think. And that'll do it for today. I always want to say thank you, and may the force be with you.
May the force be with you.